So, the iQOO 15 has finally landed in India, and this phone seriously seems like the most sensible flagship phone upgrade in the time of price hikes. And talking about upgrades, there are a lot of upgrades across the board. You get a brighter, crisper display, more powerful internal specifications, a larger battery plus wireless charging, return of the 3x optical zoom camera, and most importantly, a swanky new Origin OS experience with the promise of 5 plus 7 years of OS updates. But do all of those upgrades come together to give you an upgraded flagship experience is the question that I'm going to try to answer in this video. So watch this video till the end. Alright, if you're watching me for the first time, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. So the iQOO 15 this year, it's flatter, it's boxier, and the color variant that I am testing is the Legend variant. And there's another variant of the phone, and that's a black color variant, and it's called Alpha. Now the Legend variant has the checkered flag insignia along with the iQOO logo and the monster inside text right over here. And it does look kind of subtle now. By the way, one thing to note is that the white variant and the black variant use different backing materials. In the white variant, you get a matte glass, but in the black variant, you actually get fiberglass, which is why the white one is actually heavier than the black one by a few grams. Now both these variants also have a brushed aluminum railing, which is pretty good. And most importantly, what I like about the design itself is that despite having a large 6.85-inch display, it doesn't feel too big in the hand. Now the camera module at the top right corner, it's a squarish module, and the monster halo light is now underneath the camera module. It's like the subtle glow that you get whenever a notification comes in or you get a call. I think that it looks much cleaner and classier now. Now if you want to tune the halo light, you can do that within the settings app itself. So you can have a particular color for calls, you can have a particular color for notifications, you can even have the light popping up when you're making an NFC tap as well. By the way, within the settings itself, you also get an option called atmospheric breathing light, which basically makes the light glow and breathe at all times. You have to switch it off manually for it to stop working. This is one way to drain your battery life for sure. For more such divine insights on new smartphones, subscribe to Trakin Tech English. I mean, really do that, guys. We're trying to hit 1 million soon. Now, to fortify the build, you get short sensation alpha protection on the front glass, and you also have support for IP68 and IP69 rating. That apart, there's an infrared blaster, and the Type-C port at the bottom is Gen 3.2, so therefore you do get fast speeds as well. So overall, design-wise, pretty good stuff. Now, the display on the iQOO 15 has to be its biggest upgrade. Now, I did talk about the display in detail when I spoke about the phone in a previous video. If you haven't checked that yet, go check it out. But let me tell you more about it. It's very good. Now, this is a 6.85-inch Samsung M14 LED OLED panel. You get 2K resolution, 10-bit colors, up to 144Hz refresh rate, LTPO technology, and anti-reflective film protector. Now, why do I say anti-reflective film protector is because there's actually an anti-reflective screen guard on top of the display that you get by default, and that is what gives you the anti-reflective properties. So the company advises that if you do end up buying the iQOO 15, then you do not peel off the protector. Unfortunately, we did peel off the protector on one of the units, but when you look at the two units side by side, one with the protector and one without, you can tell how good the one with the protector is in terms of anti-reflective properties, of course. Now, talking about the LTPO technology, you get 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate, especially in system UI, and the 144 Hz is reserved for certain games. And I'll talk about that when I talk about the performance section of the phone, so just stay tuned for that one. Now, with the iQOO 15, you do get a professional color mode, and the color accuracy is actually very good. And it is also the brightest panel ever used on an iQOO phone. It can touch 2600 nits in HPM mode and 6000 nits at 1% APL when you're watching HDR content. Talking about which, you do get support for HDR video playback on YouTube and Dolby Vision video playback on Netflix. In fact, I did watch a few Dolby Vision videos on Netflix, and the HDR gradation has been done exceptionally well. It's a proper flagship grade tuning. And I have no qualms in saying that this is easily the best display ever used on any iQOO phone yet. Now, embedded within the display is an ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner, which is standard for 2025 flagships. So yeah, it's very fast to unlock. And you also get dual X-axis haptic motors or vibration motors. Now, this vibration motor is so strong and effective that iQOO actually has like 4D, vibration ringtones for you to play around with. In fact, you also do get 4D vibration when you're actually playing games as well. Now, to close off the multimedia experience, you do get a stereo speaker setup. The top speaker is not as loud as the bottom one, but regardless, the overall experience is pretty good. Take a listen to it for yourself. Now you also do get support for both LDAC and LHDC. Now let's come to the one thing that, all iQOO fans are probably waiting for is the performance. And the iQOO 15 has your standard 2025 Android flagship internals. Basically what you get is Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, LPDDR5X Ultra RAM type and UFS 4.1 storage. And there are two variants of the phone, 12/256GB and 16/512GB. Now of course I did run some benchmarks. Let's take a look at the scores. In AnTuTu we got about 3.92 million, which is in the ballpark range of Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 phones. In Geekbench we got the highest single core score that we've tested till date and a very good multi-core score as well. In CPU throttle the phone does drop down to 58% system stability, which could have been better. In 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme stress test, the GPU achieves very good high FPS, but the stability is lower. Basically, the performance tuning of the iQOO 15 has been done in a way where it throttles sooner to ensure that the phone doesn't get too hot, which it does not at all, by the way. Which is also aided by the fact that you get a large 8K vapor cooling chamber inside the iQOO 15, which is about 47% better at heat dissipation compared to last year's iQOO 13. Now, it's not just benchmarks. We also did some real-world game testing, and mostly we prefer doing Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves now. And in both the games, we got an average FPS of 59.5. And in terms of the temperatures, in Wuthering Waves, it reached up to 41.4 degrees Celsius. And in Genshin Impact, it only reached up to 38.8 degrees Celsius, running extremely cold, by the way. So in real world, we're noticing that the performance tuning is actually very good for gaming. In fact, talking about gaming, there is a special Q3 supercomputing chip, which helps in 3 core features that gets added to the iQOO 15. Basically, you get ray tracing, game super resolution, and lossless game frame interpolation as well. So currently, ray tracing is available in Genshin Impact, and we tested it out. Now, it's not immediately apparent to the eyes the differences in lighting effects that it creates, but sometimes we notice that the shadow looked better. In fact, I'm showing you footage without ray tracing and with ray tracing, and you guys tell me what you see as a difference. Now, with lossless frame interpolation in the same Genshin Impact game, we actually could bump up the frames to 120 FPS. Now, we did again run the test on the phone for 30 minutes with Genshin Impact, and we got an average FPS of 108 FPS, and the temperatures was about 44.5 degrees. And of course, in many games, you can also hit a game super resolution of 2K with upscaling. So yeah, the iQOO 15 is actually packed to the gills with performance features. Now you also get a 7000 mAh silicon carbon battery, split cell silicon carbon battery inside the phone, and I'm yet to test the phone completely for battery efficiency, but at least my initial findings are proving to be pretty positive, by the way. So I'm seeing really good efficiency tuning in terms of battery efficiency, and more importantly, very little idle drain as well. Regardless, stay tuned for my full review on a full verdict on the battery performance. Now you also do get 100-watt charging with the charger inside the box, no less. You also get support for 40-watt wireless charging as well, which is of course new on the iQOO 15. Now networking capabilities were pretty good. I tried out Airtel and Jio both on the iQOO 15, and there are umpteen 5G bands, and there was no problem with 5G network at all. You also do get support for Wi-Fi 7, but oddly enough, you do not get support for the latest Bluetooth 6 standard. You only get support for Bluetooth 5.4. And if you're wondering if there's NFC, of course there's NFC. You can tap to make payments as well. With iQOO 15, the biggest update for a lot of people has to be the fact that you get Origin OS out of the box, and it's not running FunTouch OS anymore. And up until last year, iQOO was promising 4 + 5 years of updates, but now with the iQOO 15, iQOO is promising 5 years of software updates and 7 years of security updates, which is big, which is a huge move for a brand like iQOO, and I really appreciate that. Now, Origin OS 6 based on Android 16 is definitely an elevated Android experience, especially when compared to FunTouch OS. And I've done like a detailed video on it, and if you haven't watched that yet, go check it out. A link should pop up right now. But let me give you a gist of what you can expect in Origin OS 6. So you can see improved animations and definitely improved visual design as well. And there are Origin Island shenanigans where you can drag and drop image and text to get contextual actions. And finally, a whole lot of AI features. For example, Gemini and Circular Search both are obviously present. You also get support for AI live cutout, AI erase, AI call translation, and AI image expander too. All that's great, but let me tell you that lock screen wallpapers are still active. You'll have to switch them off once you've set up the phone. You also do get a few third-party apps. I'm okay with some of the useful ones, but something like Block Blast shouldn't have been added. But thankfully you can uninstall it. And VApp Store is on by default, which means that if you don't switch off notifications, it'll definitely send you one every day. Alright, finally, let's take a look at the cameras. The primary camera is a smallish 1x1.56-inch 50 megapixel sensor. It captures enough details in daylight shots in the 12 megapixel pixel bin samples that I shot. Low light is fine too, where the algorithm makes up for the small sensor to a fair degree. What I really like about iQOO's tuning is definitely the HDR performance. The color gradients of the sky especially look very clean. In fact, it's particularly helpful when you're shooting people against the light. Even the portrait mode with the 35mm, 50mm, 85mm and 100mm options are definitely the good focal length options options for portrait shots for sure. And the edge detection, you can tell for yourself, is that it can do a very good job of even singling out, single strands of hair. But the skin tones are generally not close to neutral, even in the natural color mode. Talking about which, you get natural, textured, and vivid modes, and you can take your pick from these 3 modes. And yes, the humanistic mode is a good street photography option as well. The ultrawide sensor is fine. It can get adequately wide, which is good, and can give you usable daylight shots and lowlight shots as well. The telephoto is fairly capable at 3x and 6x zoom levels, but anything beyond that and the results don't look that impressive. One thing I noticed while testing is that the 2x shots color science doesn't match with the other zoom levels. Now iQOO is saying that they're definitely bringing out a fix for that. I've mentioned it to them, so that's a good thing. Selfies look clean and crisp, but the AI extreme night mode in low light is still a bit of an eyesore if you ask me. Now video recording is possible at 4K 60 FPS using all the cameras in the stack, and the quality is fine, but there is no option for 4K 120 FPS. Now these are just my initial impressions of the cameras on the iQOO 15. Stay tuned for my detailed review and comparison for a full verdict on the camera itself. The iQOO 15 has to be the most upgraded iQOO flagship yet, but more importantly, it's also a very complete flagship this year. And it's a banger phone, no doubt. One that is actually easy for me to recommend now, primarily because you get Origin OS and iQOO's promising 5 + 7 years of updates, which is a good promise to make, right? But yes, the price has gone up by a fair bit, and that's not necessarily an iQOO problem, it's an industry-wide level problem, which is something that all brands are contending with right now. That said, I still feel like, considering all the upgrades that are there on the iQOO 15, the pricing is the most sensible one of the lot. what do you think of that assessment? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, I'm working on many comparisons of the iQOO 15 against other devices, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.